government's back up and running. In terms of paychecks, for those who worked without being paid or who were furloughed, the administration is saying they're going to be paid as soon as possible. What about sorely needed SNAP benefits for U.S. citizens, those facing the most critical need? Kind of put those two important pieces of the puzzle in perspective for us.
Yeah, I think it may take maybe another week or so based on some announcements for workers to get their pay, their back pay, and I think just based on some of the information that Treasury publishes, we are seeing some SNAP benefits go out, but it'll probably take a little bit longer before those benefits are back up to full speed.
What about the economic impact of the government being down for so long, 43 days, delayed payments, lower consumer spending, a hit to GDP as well? Add that all up for us.
Right. Well, we're, even though the government has reopened, we're still going to be in a bit of a data fog for a while. This is an unprecedented shutdown, and it's going to take quite some time for the statistical agencies to be able to compile all of the missing data. And I think, as some of your previous commenters noted, we might not get all of the data. But of course, we have to make some estimates about the hit to the economy. We rely to some degree on past shutdowns, and our own forecast is that this is going to knock off a little bit less than a percentage point from GDP growth in the current quarter, maybe about 0.8, but we do expect it to mostly be made up in the first quarter. We think as people get their paychecks back and their SNAP benefits, that they'll start spending again. But we do expect to see some hit to growth, but we expect most of that to be done in the first quarter. But it's going to take us some time to get a full picture of that, just given the backlog of economic data that we're going to be waiting for.
Yeah, Nancy, I like that term, data fog, as well, because clearly we're kind of trying to find our way through that. What about all this economic data? Because the Trump administration has said reports from October may never be released, as you just kind of alluded to. But what do we know about where prices stand, and also how important this information is to the Fed as well? Because Trump has been leaning on that entity to bring down interest rates, and without any kind of information to move forward, right now it seems to appear that a lot of Wall Street believes they may just stay pat for the month of December.
Right, which is our own call, and as your previous segment noted, that we know at the October meeting, when they did agree to cut rates, that there was a fair amount of division about what the next move should be. We do think that the Fed will have more information in hand by the time the December meeting rolls around. We probably are not going to get everything. It may just not be possible to, for instance, come up with an unemployment rate for October, or an adequate CPI for October. But we'll, just like at the October meeting, we kind of piece together a picture of the economy based on the data we have, including some non-government data, and the Fed will do the same. They again have a dual mandate. The labor market has shown some vulnerability, but inflation is still quite far from its target. So our view is that unless there's some solid evidence that the labor market is deteriorating a lot further, that they're going to take a pause at the December meeting.
What do you think Americans think about the U.S. economy right now? Because the president kind of very famously bristled when asked about the rising cost of goods during the shutdown, bluntly saying, "I don't want to hear about affordability." Is that a simply tone-deaf response?
Well, I think you can make that case. If you look at some of the recent consumer sentiment surveys, they are quite bleak. And we're we've been kind of emphasizing this theme a lot over the last year, that in many ways we have a bifurcated economy, and I think that applies to the way households feel about the economy as well. Very wealthy people who have a lot of wealth tied up in the stock market have seen a lot of gains there. I mean, maybe some of that's starting to be unwound, but for the most part, we think they're doing pretty well. and have a different perception of the economy than households further down the income ladder who are struggling more with affordability, whether it's housing costs or basic necessities like groceries, utility bills. So it's a situation where it depends on who you ask, but I think affordability is a real problem for many American households.